has thumbs up.
They're ready.
Okay, we're ready. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Let's go ahead and we'll start the JPA meeting for this day. The notice of public hearings are posted in the back by the door for those who might be interested. Public comment is welcome, and our time limit notification is at the 5-minute marker. So we ask you to try to keep your remarks in that framework. With that, gentlemen, do you have comments?
Nope.
Have I forgotten anything? Regent Tim Clare? Councilman Carl Eskridge? Excuse me for not introducing you at the first. All right, so we'll move to agenda item number 3, approval of the minutes for the JPA meeting held December 27th, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Further comment? Call the roll.
Claire,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes?
Eskridge,
Yes.
They are approved. Agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes from the special meeting that was held January 7th, 2019. Is there a recommendation for approval of those minutes?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further comment? Call the roll.
Claire,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes?
Eskridge,
Yes.
They are approved. Agenda item number 5, approval of the November 2018, December 2018, and January 2019 payment registers, and review of the November 2018, December 2018, and January 2019 expenditure reports. Brandon, do you want to take a little time and explain the extraordinary length
Sure.
of this particular request?
I think we had, I think, one meeting cancellation, which kind of led to accumulation of financial reports, and I think I missed one meeting too. So that kind of led to all 3 being done this month. So I'm going to roll through these. I'll give you the highlights for all 3 of them. If you have any questions or want to stop me in between, please do so. So I'll start with the.
First of all, council, I assume it's all right to do this in this fashion?
Yes, we're gonna, he's taking them all 3, yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so November 2018 payment register, you have total payments of $297,253.47, and operating $48,242.44 in capital expenditures. For the operating budget highlights, you had $74,784.20 for, that's basically Cisco phone support, elevator, escalator contract, generator maintenance, so that's in the arena repair and maintenance line. You had $194,888.50 to DC. Of that, about 62% is billed back to the private sector, so about $121,000 is billed back to the private sector. Then we also had expenses at $18,327 for Gilmore Bell, who conducted a post-issuance tax compliance audit for the city, or for the JPA, to make sure that we continue to be in tax compliance for those tax exempt bonds. Capital budget, primary expenditures there were.
Did we get a report on that? I mean, I assume we still are in compliance with tax.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we
might want to have something, maybe for an agenda item. I'd ask the chair, perhaps we could have some sort of an opinion from council saying that we're still in compliance with respect to our bonds.
Yeah. Chris, could you be sure that it gets on the next agenda?
I will.
Thank you.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No.
Capital budget expenditures primarily related to pigeon proofing and environmental monitoring. In addition, there's financial reports for the JPA and Pinnacle Bank Arena. For the JPA, you had revenues at $8.3 million, expenditures of $10.5 million, for a deficit of 2.2 million with an ending balance of 37.1 million. SMG for Pinnacle Bank Arena, you had an income statement as of October 31st, 2018. Revenues of 1.3 million, expenditures of 897,000 for a surplus of 427,000 with an ending balance of $652,000. Those are the highlights for November. Moving on to December 2018 payment register. December, you had total operating expenditures payments of $9,721,683 and capital expenditures of $10,059. The primary expenditures in December, we had interest
What did you have that figure at?
for December total,
Yeah.
$9,721,683.
It's the line up above.
Oh, okay. It was sold, okay, never mind. Gotcha.
So, and the primary expenditures there for principal and debt, or principal and interest payments on the debt. So total debt and interest was $8,681,644. You had DEC expenditures of $201,964.38. Same thing, 62% billed back to the private sector, so about $125,000 is billed back to the private sector. You had $28,403.27 for maintenance charges for the West Haymarket Maintenance District. We had 2 months of parking management bills for $332,320.59. We had the second quarter sponsorship of $276,020.25. The operating increment second quarter of $150,000, and then there was $24,910.59 for just arena maintenance, repair for food and beverage and equipment maintenance. The capital budget was primarily related to environmental monitoring. The West Haymarket JPA as of December 31st, he had total revenues 10.2 million, total expenditures of 11.4 million for a surplus, for a deficit of 1.3 million and an ending balance of $38,057,390. For Pinnacle Bank Arena as of November 30th, 2018, you had revenues of 1.8 million, expenditures of 1.4 million for a surplus of $400-some odd thousand, which gave them retained earnings balance of $692,332. That is the December overview. January overview, operating expenditures of $255,869. No capital expenditures in January. Operating budget expenditure highlights, you had $98,438 for city staff time reimbursements. You had $77,600 for the appraisals of the 2 parcels, the one that was sold and the one that was bought. And $23,047 of arena maintenance and repair for basically food, beverage, and equipment maintenance. We had the SMG management incentive fee payment of $94,215. And then also we had $25,444.62 for the excavation of the Olson Phase 2, which was part of the contract for the payment for the excavation of that property. The JPA statement of revenues, expenditures, and fund balances of January 31st had revenues of 12.6 million, expenditures of 11.9 million for a surplus of 740,000, ending balances of $41,453,922. Pinnacle Bank Arena income statement for December 31st. You had revenues of about 2.1 million, expenditures of approximately 1.8, for a surplus of approximately 300,000, giving them an ending balance of $507,000 in retained earnings. As of 1/31/2019, occupation taxes for the year were up 2.04%. Compared to the original projections, we're still 25% over, which corresponds with the year 2030.
Brendan, with regard to any of the three payment registers or any of the three expenditure reports that you just covered, are there any figures or patterns of figures in any category with which we should be concerned in any of these months?
I don't think so at this time. I mean, one of the main revenues that we continue to watch is occupation taxes, and like I just said, we're ahead of the original projections corresponding with the year 2030. You know, we continue to budget, I'd say on conservative basis, of 2% increase, and we're trending right where we should be for that increase. So as long as occupation taxes continue to meet our expectations, we should be in good financial shape.
Okay, that's good to hear. Are there other questions of Brent?
From a budget standpoint, I mean, both from a process point of view, we're getting the signatures and to the extent we need the different approvals and things, we're getting those all taken care of. And then also from a monetary standpoint, we're I know the occupation tax is ahead, but from a profitability standpoint, everything's in order.
Yes, and yes, on the first part, I continue to monitor all revenues, expenditures that are coming in. Any expenditures I sign off on, they're presented to me for signature before any payments are, and then the board also approves all those payments. As far as, I mean, the overall financial shape of the JPA, I think we're still in very good shape. We have significant balances. You know, we just have to make sure that we're continuing to trend on that basis as we move forward, as we inch closer to 2021 when some of those first principal payments are made. And also some larger capital expenditures are starting to creep in based on the age of the facility as well.
And the January occupation tax, you said was at 2.04?
2.04.
We budgeted 2, so while it's not spectacular, it's still higher than what we had budgeted for. And January is usually slow anyway because of men's and women's basketball and having to work around a lot of those other events as opposed to having concerts and other productions.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, January, especially, you know, kind of post Christmas dip in written sales, and you know, occupation taxes are still trending good. I think, you know, sales tax overall, it's a little bit softer on the retail side, I think is where we're seeing more of the weakness, so, which doesn't impact the West Haymarket JPA.
Was the replacement of the basketball court early, late, on time?
And Tom's here, he could probably speak to more specific on the details, but I think they're on schedule as far as when they're expecting to get the floor in to be prepared for the next basketball season.
Nod your head yes, Tom, and I will record for the record that all is well.
All is well. Bids are closed, and so we'll know the bidders in the next few days.
Okay, and it's being done right on schedule?
It will be on schedule. We'll be able to receive delivery in either late August or September, plenty of time to be ready for the next basketball season.
Okay, I'll be anxiously awaiting the design of the new floor.
And I think that will come out of Mark Bain and the university very soon.
All right, thank you.
It's gonna be Chris Beiler. Of course.
All right, is there public comment on this particular item? Welcome, Jane.
I will speak loud enough because it's hard to hear you guys. Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs of Lincoln Government. So when we talk about the district corporation, when you have this high figure of expenditure, and then you say 60% is reimbursed, where is that showing on the, on any of this?
Well, since those are revenue reimbursements, I mean, what's provided in here is the expenditure reports, so they're
Right.
not gonna show up through the expenditure reports, but, on the statement of revenues, expenditures and changes in fund balance, those, you can see there's a line that says DEC customer payments.
Okay, so this
So
is
that's-
the operating expenditure?
So that's where it shows the revenue coming back in for those
Okay.
customer payments.
Okay, so each month you show that?
Yeah, each month, and as the footprint for buildings continues to expand throughout the JPA, those DEC costs will continue to increase, but on the flip side too, we'll also receive more revenues from customers. So as, you know, Olson comes online, once their new facility is built, the DEC costs will increase, but we'll also see a corresponding increase in the revenues as well.
I looked online and the website for DEC says it's an old private corporation. Why are John Camp, Deb Shore, and Bill Avery on the board?
Chris Connolly, Acting City Attorney. DEC is a nonprofit corporation that is essentially a partnership between the city and the county to operate it. So you have elected officials who do serve on the board of the DEC.
So it isn't a private
It's not a private corporation, it's a nonprofit corporation.
Okay,
And
nonprofit.
it's private in the sense that it's not a political subdivision as such, but it is made, its partners are made up of political subdivisions.
Okay, thank you for that. And on the Pinnacle Bank Arena income, it says JPA operational increment. Exactly what is that? And it looks like it's different each month.
So for the PBA income statement, the operation increment is the $150,000 that's paid out on a quarterly basis, so total of $600,000 that comes from the West Haymarket JPA to the Pinnacle Bank Arena for operations.
For support.
Yeah,
Okay,
and that's where, as we discussed in the past, where the arena generates somewhere about $10 million. It sends 5.5 million over to the West Haymarket JPA, who then sends some of that money back, or sends 600 and some odd thousand for the operational increment, and then about 1.1 million for the sponsorships that are paid. They send that back to the Pinnacle Bank Arena budget for operations.
so where's the $1 million that shows, or does it show, that is owned to SMG? Owed.
I'm not following you on the question.
The JPA borrowed $2 million?
Oh, are you talking about on the initial
Loan.
operating loan?
Yeah,
You know, that's stated in the liabilities of the West Haymarket JPA and the annual audited
okay, so
financial statements.
it doesn't show on their income or anything?
Well,
like-
that's not a balance sheet. That's
Okay,
shown, you know, any expenditures reported for the payment of that loan would show up in the
Okay.
statement, but
so really, the Pinnacle Bank Arena is not earning anything?
I'm not sure if I would, I mean, if you look at the revenues that the arena generate compared to the expenditures, you know, the arena generates somewhere of about $10 million, has expenditures of 5.5 million. But part of that part of those revenues go to the West Haymarket JPA, and then part of them stay in the Pinnacle Bank operating budget.
But basically, it's not really making money if you count that loan.
I'd say it generates $10 million and it has $5.5 million in expenditures, and that's $4.5 million.
That's left.
Or that stays basically in the West Haymarket JPA's budget.
I think this is really hard to understand how that really happens. It looks like just little funny figures. So,
Why don't you give her the chart that you gave, that was in the newspaper, that shows the funnel of money, and you can follow it and it shows how the funds come in and then flow out, and it might answer your questions.
well, I don't know why you just don't income, debit, and that kind of thing. Why you funnel back and forth. It doesn't look clear. And he gave me that, but it's like we're sending this money over there, and it's really making money when there's $1 million loan that's outstanding. So I guess we would say it needs to be clear straight up and down.
Jane, thank you. That's your 5 minutes. But if you have you or your organization desiring to make a specific change in how things are reported, let us know and we'll consider it.
I doubt it. I doubt it. It'd be wasted breath. I guess what we could say is that a private firm has taken over the Ralston Arena, and that we would like to see some. Actually, you are the West Haymarket. It says in the paper has some rail yard entertainment management too. So. I think we'd like to see a thorough explanation for that and for what's really going on with the arena instead of the transferring back and forth. I'm not quite sure why that even started, except that, why isn't it just up and down?
Jane, as far as I can see, it's as clear as you possibly can make a complex situation. But I appreciate your point, and your time is up, and if there's further public testimony, it would be welcome at this time.
From somebody else?
Yeah. All right. With regard to agenda item number 5, our practice has been consistent to date to approve the payment registers formally, but not to take action on the expenditure reports. So the question before us is the approval of the November 2018, December 2018, and January 2019 payment registers. Is there a motion to approve? Motion's made.
Second.
Seconded. Moved and seconded. Any further comment, gentlemen? Can you call the roll?
Claire,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
The payment registers identified in agenda item number 5 are approved. Agenda item number 6, resolution 19-1, involving a 4th addition to the energy service agreement between the West Haymarket Public Agency and the District Energy Corporation with respect to services to the second Olson building. Chris Connolly is to explain that to us.
Each time that a new project is built in the West Haymarket area and gets hooked up to the DEC, There are two agreements that occur. One is that the new project has an agreement with the JPA to actually provide the service. And the other agreement is an amendment to an agreement that the JPA has with the DEC to provide the service to the JPA. And the amendments at this point are strictly to add to the list of properties to be served by DEC. So this amendment, there's no money that changes hands in either direction. DEC is not paying us anything additional, and we're not paying DEC anything additional. This is simply amending the agreement to reflect that there's a new property being served.
Yeah.
So with that, if you have any questions?
Other questions?
What sort of impact do you think this will have on the overall cost of DEC services to the arena?
The overall rates should be driven down because as we add on the square feet, the debt service reduces that rate. Now, there's the demand other charge that is reflected in there, but there should be still a reduction in rate for all the customers.
So like now we bill out 62% back to the private sector.
Right.
Where do you think that figure will go? Maybe you're not the right person. Maybe Brandon is the person to ask.
Well, and I've visited a little bit with Mike Lang, who is the one that keeps track of that, and he and I need to visit again to get those numbers, and we will provide those to you. But there's a recalculation that happens each time, and part of it is making sure that we know exactly what the square footage is that's going in.
But it will, from the arena standpoint, and from this governing board standpoint, it's safe to say that the cost that we will absorb relative to the DEC monthly cost is going to go down.
It should go down.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Chris? It's a public comment on this item. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve WH 19-1?
So moved.
Been
Second.
moved and seconded. Further comment? Call the roll.
Claire,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
The resolution is passed. Agenda item number 7, resolution 19-2, relating to the unit price contract with Commonwealth Electric for the replacement of light poles. Caleb Swanson.
Caleb, if you want. Caleb Swanson with PC Sports,
We'll
Project
have him
Control.
shimmy up the pole.
Yeah. This is a unit price contract where we requested quotes from electricians and are recommending Commonwealth Electric. There's a condition of the JPA agreement with the U.S. Postal Service regarding the lease of the lot that is between the post office and the arena. There are a couple for light poles, light fixtures that light up that section of parking, and it is one of the terms of that agreement that the JPA is responsible for the long-term maintenance of those light fixtures. And so we've had some of the ballast go out in some of those lights. We had the electricians look at options to both just replace the ballasts in the fixtures as well as just replace all of the fixtures with new LEDs. And from a long-term cost standpoint, it definitely made sense to go the LED route. And so that is what we are recommending here for the cost of $3,660, is to replace those 4 fixtures with new LEDs to kind of reduce those long-term maintenance charges required for the upkeep of the old fixtures and the old ballasts. So, any questions?
Caleb, are there questions of Caleb?
So the city owns that lot, or the JPA owns the lot, or who?
Yeah, it's a JPA-owned lot that the post office leases back
fine.
for parking, but the JPA retains certain maintenance obligations on the property, one of which is the light fixtures.
Okay. How long's this been in existence?
I believe, from what I could tell, it goes back at least to 2000 when the city owned the lot, but I'll let Chris elaborate on that.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact genesis of it, but when the arena was being built, we did acquire that piece of property. The JPA acquired that piece of property, and then we did lease it back with the understanding that we were going to have to do certain maintenance, as Caleb indicated.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I believe that also came in handy when we were building the arena, because the setback issues, that if it would have been a third party involved, they wouldn't have allowed, Mortensen would not have allowed that to move forward in the way we did it. Because we were the party that owned it, we were able to control that.
Correct.
I got a question. We had talked about this in our meeting. Is that going to be paid for out of the arena budget, or is that going to be paid for out of the fund that we have with Parks and Rec?
We're looking into that. Yeah, I don't think a final determination on where it's coming from, whether it's from an operations budget or from, I think Mark has some budget for operational maintenance like this in the budget. So whether it comes from that or from, I think you're referring to the endowment fund.
Right.
I don't think that's been decided on yet. But I think we'd be looking into that.
Any other questions? Is there public comment?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. So you're saying that that hasn't been determined, which budget that will come from?
Correct.
Okay, and who will decide
I'll
that?
be talking probably to finance.
What?
I'll be talking to finance
Okay,
about where it makes the most sense to take that money from.
so Brandon or Mark
Brandon
will
and
make
Mark.
that decision, okay. And does the JPA own all the land underneath the building, or just part of it?
If you're referring to the parking lot, the JPA owns the land next to the post office,
Okay, next to,
just west of it, which is where that parking lot area is. Doesn't own anything with regard to the post office building
or the land that it sits on.
or the land that it sits on.
Okay, that's still government,
That's still federal
Lands.
government,
okay,
U.S. Postal Service property.
okay, thank you.
Is there any further public comment? If not, is there a motion to approve 19-2?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Claire,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
19-2 is approved. Agenda item number 8, resolution relating to a consultant agreement with 5-9's Technology Group for information technology services. Welcome again, Chris.
Thank you. This is a renewal of agreement that we've had with 5-9's Technology. I'm hoping Tom could maybe give a little better explanation as to exactly what they're doing, but they've been providing services for a number of years, and so this is not a new expenditure.
Good afternoon.
Identify yourself for the record, if you would, Tom.
Tom Lorenz, Pinnacle Bank Arena General Manager. So the contract that we have with 5-9's controls and works with us in many different facets with the arena. The arena is a highly technical building. We have computer control for various processes like HVAC, point of sale, public Wi-Fi, video and graphics, video for security, fire control. We do off-site backup, lighting control, and phone PBX. Those are all aspects of what they help us work through. So the services they directly provide to us certainly deal with keeping our servers updated, working with us if we have any data interruptions, any system failures. Equipment does go out of life, and so we need to plan ahead and look and see how we're going to deal with those equipment issues. All of the software updates that continually come through. We work on PCI compliance, which works with taking information and payments and making sure that customers are supported with that. Desktop support, security patches, and then they also help us provide some backup and support when we have shows. We have technical show needs that come in. They'll look at things like video, sound, security, and Wi-Fi. So all those things come together. Our partnership with Five Nines provides us an entire team of staff that comes in and supports what we do, as opposed to just a single person. We do have a person on site that does work with our IT, but then he is able to get support from a group like Five Nines. They were instrumental in designing some of these systems from the building from the start, and so they've been a key part of helping us keep that building as technologically cutting edge as we can.
Okay, questions of Tom or Chris?
Which is really important. We don't want to have a blackout or lights not work or something not click. I mean, it's extraordinarily important.
And that can happen easily if you don't keep up on software updates and all those type of things. Correct.
Has it been a relatively stable cost, or is it?
It has, and in fact, from last time's contract to this time contract, the price actually went down slightly, so. And they're receptive, and we continue to look through at the menu of services that we get from them to pick and choose what we need most.
Local group, too, that's nice.
Good bunch of people, and they're close by, and we get, since our events happen on nights and weekends, it's important that we have someone who's close by and who will respond 24/7, not just 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay, are there any questions? Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. Is this for a year?
Yes.
Or how long?
It's for 1 year.
2019 to 2020, what month?
Let me see here. I have the contract handy. It will expire February 27th of 2020.
Okay. And is there an increase from previous years?
No, Mr. Lorenz just indicated that the price actually went down a little bit from last year.
Okay. For the same services?
Probably slightly different services.
We continue to look at the menu of services that they provide, and it's always with an eye towards trying to keep that price down as much as possible. It is essentially the same menu of services, but any place that we could reduce something and save some money, we were able to.
So, Mr. Lorenz presents to you his budget or what he wants, and then you write the contract?
I put together the contract, yes.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any further public comment? If not, is there a motion to approve WH 19-3? It's been moved and seconded to approve of the resolution. Is there further comment? Call the roll.
Claire,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
it is approved. Agenda item number 9 is resolution 19-4 relating to the audit and management letter and a report from BKD. With respect to the JPA, Chris Lindner, welcome.
Good afternoon. Chris Lindner, audit partner with BKD CPAs here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Happy to be with you here this afternoon to cover the 2018 financial statement audit for the JPA and cover any questions you may have. First, I want to just thank the team here at the city for all the help that they give us throughout that process. Mark Lycum, Brandon Kaufman, and the rest of the team there at City Finance do a fantastic job of having the records ready for us to come in. As I'll note throughout my presentation, things are in order. No adjustments or changes to those financial statements were necessary for us to complete our audit, which is a big kudos, again, looking at the dollars and the number and nature of transactions that the JPA needs to record on an annual basis. We'll kind of cover, there's two documents within the packet. There's the audit report. Mine's not, maybe it's spiral bound like yours might be, or electronic if it's in that way. So there's the longer report and then the letter. and just touch on a few things within there. I won't go into detail with some of the numbers and specifics and things, but try to cover things more on a high level. And if there are questions, whether that be today, if you have any questions, or if there's anything after today or throughout the year, I'm always happy to answer any of those. Within the financial statements, the audit report itself, the few things just to note, in there you'll see that there are actually two separate opinions. First, there's the financial statement opinion near the front of the document, and that's the normal kind of, are the financial statements in accordance with GAAP opinion that you'd expect with any type of entity. And so that is a clean or an unmodified opinion under the audit standards. So again, that is noting that the financial statements are in accordance with GAAP for a governmental entity similar to the JPA. And then near the end of the report, there's a second opinion that references government auditing standards. And what that is with the JPA being a entity created between the university and the city, we also have to perform this audit in accordance with those standards. And what that really means is if, as part of our testing, we identify any non-compliance with whether that be a state statute or a regulation or a grant or agreement that the JPA had, we would have to report that non-compliance within that opinion. And then also from a control standpoint, if there were material misstatements to the financials that we felt was a control issue, or if segregation of duties and those checks and balances weren't in place like they should be, we would also report that within there as a material weakness or a significant deficiency, saying that there are some significant control improvements that needed to be made. If you look at that opinion, you'll note there is no non-compliance or control language like that. So from that standpoint, you can kind of consider that opinion clean or unmodified as well. Again, kudos to the team here at the city of making sure those checks and balances and things are in order so that we don't have those types of issues in our reporting and don't have those material adjustments to the financials. Within the financials and the report itself, the first part of that is really maybe the part, if you only have a few minutes to get through the document, it's the management's discussion and analysis, or the MD&A, maybe you've heard of that term in the past. And it's a little shorter, condensed version of the financial report, and it's written entirely by management. Takes the financial statement numbers, put them in a little more condensed format so you don't have as many line items and detail items, and then kind of gives you a little more analysis of the transactions throughout the year. So, what were the significant items that happened, and then also a little bit looking forward, saying, well, what does the JPA expect here in the near future that could impact the financial statements? So again, if you don't have time to get to the entire report, that's always a section that I encourage readers, and whether that be outside readers or governance, to spend a few minutes to maybe have a better understanding of the financial statements. A few things to note that are a little unique for the JPA. First, if you compare the financial statements for the JPA to a private sector enterprise business, because they report on a completely separate set of standards, the GASB standards versus FASB, the reporting model is going to be a lot different than you would see under a normal, or different than a normal manufacturing company or a bank or any commercial enterprise. So there are some items in there that are a little unique to maybe someone that hasn't looked at a financial statement like this before. And then also on the balance sheet there on page 7, just the balance sheet and the statement of net position, there are really 3 columns. And the first column is what they call the project fund column, and that's really looking at things on a shorter term focus. What are our cash investments, receivables, and then kind of those short-term payables, short-term obligations that will come due, versus that far right column is really looking at everything on what's considered a full accrual basis. So that includes all of our assets, capital assets, long-term debt, and looking at it from that standpoint. And you see the adjustment column kind of reconciling the two. And so it's important to note that those are those differences there. The JPA's financial statements do then, from this report, get wrapped into the city's financial statement as a component unit. And so that project fund column is what you would see if you looked at the city's financial and saw the JPA column. Those numbers from the project fund, not that far right column, is what you would see when trying to look at the two together. There were no new standards that would require any new accounting items, any disclosures, anything there. So the standard setting bodies have been very busy in having new requirements. However, because with the JPA having no employees, some of those related to pension and other post-employment benefits that other governmental entities that have had to address those and implement those, the JPA has kind of remained somewhat exempt to that. So the financial statements from a form and content standpoint look similar to what you've seen in the past. And then it's also important to note as we go through this, and sometimes we get these questions of noting that, you know, the JPA's financials are looking at the West Haymarket Joint Public Agency versus saying, well, you know, what is the JPA and the arena? The arena is not included within these financial statements. That's within the financial statements of the city as a whole. That second deliverable that I mentioned briefly is our audit communication letter. And under the audit standards, there are several items that are required to be communicated from the auditor to governance. And with that, it's, you know, we have those listed throughout here, but also the letter kind of serves as maybe a good roadmap. If you were to look and say, all right, I have a financial statement here and it's got a lot of information, but what do I really need to focus on? And the letter really helps you do that. It goes through, you know, what are more of the significant accounting policies, you know, those items that impact the financials more than others. It talks through any accounting estimates, so items that have maybe more subjectiveness to them versus a clear black and white. You can point to an invoice or a statement and say that's what the balance needs to be. Any maybe sensitive or significant financial statement disclosures or footnotes, just to make sure you're aware of some of those maybe being a little more unique to the JPA versus another entity. And then in there, you'll also note that audit adjustment section, which I noted earlier. If we did have changes to the financials, if we had to come in and make adjustments or propose adjustments, we would have to report those within that section, but we're happy to report we did not have any changes as part of our reporting process. And then the other item, just to note that we don't list it in writing if we don't have anything to report, just from an internal control standpoint. So before year end, we come out and do some more interim work, and that's really designed around testing controls, you know, making inquiries of management, of city finance, of activities and transactions throughout the year, and kind of getting an understanding of that overall control structure. And so as part of that, then we're pulling a sample of items to make sure that reviews are getting done like they should, and timely, and reconciliations and checks and balances, and looking at that overall segregation of duty structure as well. And so as part of that, like I had mentioned, as part of that other opinion, if we had anything that needed to be reported from a control standpoint, in addition to being in that opinion, we'd have it in our letter as well. But because we're kind of mute on that in the letter, that really means we did not have anything from that standpoint, noting that the controls are in place and operating as designed. With that, again, I wanted to keep it at a fairly high level. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have, and again, appreciate working with the JPA on this again this year.
Chris, is it your objective to make things as obscure and complex and as hard to understand as you possibly can?
I do my best. The standard, I'll blame it on the standard setting bodies that go out and make those rules for me, and I try to do my best to make those rules somewhat understandable.
Aren't these accounting standards people, isn't it their overall objective to make it clear to investors what's happening in a particular organization in the most clear manner possible?
The overall objective is to make the financial picture of the organization as transparent as possible, and I would argue maybe with along with some others that their objective is not being met by doing that. I would agree with you, Mayor.
Have you noticed anything in the way we do it, and since we do it in accordance with the way that is dictated by the organizations that you're obligated to follow, doesn't it follow that we are doing this in the most transparent way that human understanding provides with regard to how we understand the phenomena we create from a financial point of view?
My objective is to come in and look at the JPA's financials and essentially match them against what the accounting standard setting bodies would tell us. Here's how we need to report that in a financial statement, and is that being done or not? And so from that standpoint, from a transparency standpoint, yes, matching it against what the standards would require.
Have you seen anything in our records for the JPA that could be made simpler or closer to any standard that exists?
In comparison to accounting standards, we would say no, because not taking exception to any of the items here. Over the years, as we've had our relationship with the JPA and the city, if there are ever areas of improvement for efficiencies and best practices, we would make those recommendations to management at that point.
Do you have any recommendations on how we could be more transparent or do things better?
As part of our audit, we did not identify anything that we felt would be a recommendation to management or the board.
Questions? Thank you. Is there public comment?
Yes, sir, don't leave. Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. What is the purpose to transfer money back and forth instead of having an up and down income and outgo for the arena and the JPA?
I can't directly answer that question. Again, being my role as the auditor of the financial statements, those operational and management decisions are made by the board and the folks at City Finance. So again, the objective and purpose of that, they would have to explain that to you, I guess. And from what we're doing then is coming in to making sure that, that flow of money is following following the direction that they've been told.
So you can't speak to the philosophy behind that or the purpose?
My role is not to do that. My role is to audit that that transaction is taking place for that amount, and it's following the objectives, I guess, that were set forth, or it's following the direction that was set forth by the JPA and by the city for that to happen.
Okay. You've never asked them about it?
We, obviously, as part of our audit, we obtain an understanding for that and why it's taking place, but I can't speak to that as part of, here today. Again, that's a management decision and a management communication.
Is that, in your experience, or aside from what they're telling you, have you seen that kind of an arrangement in the past? For government to do this shuffling around?
For other municipal clients that I work with, again, knowing that the university and the city and the JPA's relationship is a little unique to maybe some others that you've seen, but obviously with other municipal governments around the state and the region, you do often see that, depending on the entity or operation that is taking place in one fund, there may be transfers that happen between them.
And why did they do that?
It's part of the city's overall financial picture to understand that sometimes one fund may be, earning things at a different level that can help support the other, and then also knowing that sometimes the whole picture may not be looked at, it's just a fund. In other instances, I'm not speaking to the JPA directly.
Is it another way to keep things from total transparency?
I don't believe so in the instances that I've seen that's the objective of doing that. No, I don't believe it's trying to hide anything.
How would a person or the public find that? Just from what they say, which is what they have told us.
Again, not knowing what the specifics of the question may be, I guess if you felt that the information provided here was not complete, it would be making a follow-up with the folks here at City Finance and asking whatever more specific questions you may have.
So if a CPA looked at this, they would be able to figure it out?
I believe so. That being my role in understanding that and auditing that, yes.
Okay. And they would be able to understand why there's a shifting around?
Not speaking for others, but I would believe yes.
Okay. So we should get a CPA to look at it?
That, I guess, is up to you. If you wanted others to look at it from that standpoint, I'm not sure what to tell you there.
Okay. So you wouldn't say it's a wasted effort?
The transfer of money?
No, for us to have a CPA look at it.
That is what we are doing as part of our audit.
Right.
Is looking at it.
And you have confidence in your audit, and that if we did this, it would be a wasted effort?
Again, as part of our audit, we're coming in and auditing the financial statements of the JPA and its relation to the city's overall financial picture as well, and understanding that relationship and making sure that those numbers are in accordance with what they should be. And You know, I don't, you know, understand what role that would serve, but I'm not sure above and beyond what we've done, what else could be done.
Okay. Well, I guess we have concerns because you have audited year after year the city and the JPA, right? You have a long-standing contract, which we feel we would like to have somebody else's eyes on this. Okay. The other thing is, I don't want to indicate or intimate that there's any illegality going on here. I just believe that it can be less confusing. And I think it would show that the arena is not doing as well as it could. So I guess that's what my questions have. Could I have a copy of your audit?
Absolutely, I believe, not either from myself or Brent or one
Okay.
could provide a copy of that, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Jane. Appreciate it.
There you go.
So further public comment? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval of 19-4?
So moved.
Been moved,
Second.
seconded. Further discussion?
I want to thank BKD and thank our finance area. I think we, with respect to our projections and the fact that we're having an international accounting firm audit our books and make sure that what we're doing is correct, albeit confusing, still correct and consistent with generally accepted accounting principles and all the accounting rules, etc. I want to thank our finance folks because they've done a good job of making sure that this project is efficient and is able to pay back the debt service that we took out to build the arena and develop the area in the first place. So I just want to say thanks to them and thanks to BKD again for their review to make sure that everything is on the up and up.
Second that. Carl? Any more comment? No? No. Okay. I think we're calling the roll, aren't we?
Claire,
Call the roll.
Yes.
Whitler,
Yes.
Eskridge,
Yes.
It is approved. The proposed next meeting date is Thursday, March 28th, 2019 at 2:30 at City County Building, Council Chambers on the first floor. Any objection to that?
Nope.
All right, then that will be the next meeting date. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Call the roll.
Claire,
Yes.
Whitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
we are adjourned. Thank you all for your time again.